Hello and welcome to the Should You Buy for the Vulcan. We're going to take a look at the mech, its stats, its hardpoints, its possible hitbox locations based on the concept art, and whether or not you should purchase it. But, to start off, I hadn't heard of this mech before it came up on here. It is a mech that exists, and it's in Sarna. I just didn't know of it. It wasn't on my radar at all, so this is kind of interesting. Get to see a whole new mech. For the looks of it, as some people have pointed out on Reddit and such, it kind of looks like a night jeer that has been starving a little. It's got the same sort of high arched shoulders to it as the night jeer, but it just doesn't have the meatiness for the rest of it. The mech is only 40 tons, so it is not that big, so we can see that as being okay, but as like a representative of 40 tons. But it does look kind of gangly for me. Almost like those meme images you see online of the never skip leg day sort of thing, where these legs are really long and spindly, and then it's just got these bulky shoulders to it, which is kind of funny. But anyway, let's get on to the details. So this is the standard pricing for the packages. We have the standard pack at $20, which gives you the 3 standard variants of the 2T, 5T, and 5M. We have the collector's pack, which gives you an additional mech, the 2T Special, which has the special custom pattern and C-build boost. Of course, mech bays do house everything premium time, depending on which one you get. 30 days for standard, 60 days for premium for the collector's pack. Various cockpit items, which are multiplied for the collectors, and various titles and badges, which more for the collectors. We also have Reinforcement and Hero, the Bloodlust Hero for $15, and the Reinforcements, the 5S and the 6M for $15. We're going to go over those and their possible builds to see whether or not they're really required, if they're pay to win, pay to optimize, or anything compared to the standard variants. And again, Ultimate Pack, $70, that's just everything all together at once. I'll say this every single time. This would be nice if this was $5 or $10 less. It doesn't have to be a huge discount, just $5. But then it would say, hey, if you buy everything all at once, here's an extra special bonus reduction. It just would be a nice little thing that PGI could do, and not really a huge game breaker, but would be nice in the future. And I'll continue to say it until it occurs. Early Adopter Awards. If you pre-order your package before the end of May, you will receive the following items. We got 3 copies of the standing cockpit item, Franken camo pattern, unlocked on all of your mechs, 2 Vulcan Decal Scare Glow and Knifey McStabby, probably MC as in mech credit Stabby, okay. What is this? This Vulcan ships August 21st. I was thinking, like, why are you giving us like Halloween type stuff? Does this ship in October? But no, it ships in August. So it seems a little interesting for the theming here. 3 new colors: Burlap Sack Brown, Hey Y'all Yellow, and Cornstalk Green. Still feels like sort of like a corn maze horror flick as sort of the theme here. And then 6.5 million, which will be good for your costs in order to upgrade them, as most likely these things will need engines purchased and such to be optimal on the battlefield. So the mech is 40 tons. It is an inner sphere mech. It is a battle mech. As we see, we have a max engine rating of 315, so we can change around our engine. And all of them have jump jets, so they can all fly. Everybody has a max of 6. Nobody has ECM, and a single person, the 5S, which is part of the reinforcements, has mask, and we're going to talk about whether that mask is relevant when we get to the hard points. But for now, we're going to pop over to the Spreadsheet Warrior, and unless you're viewing this on your computer screen at 1080p, it might be a little difficult to see, but I'll go through these numbers completely. We have the Vulcan at 40 tons, with various types and ratings of engines to give us different engine weights and top speeds. While the mech can take up to a 315, I personally don't think that it's going to be worth the wait for the extra speed. Say, for example, we have the XL 315, which comes in at 18 tons, and without tweak is going to give you 127.6. So we have 6.1 less for kph. However, we are going to save 2.5 tons. And for a 40-ton mech, 2.5 tons is fairly relevant. That's another couple weapon systems. That's another few things of ammunition. That's just enough heat sinks to make a build functional. So I think that 6 kilometers an hour is not worth those things when we could just take speed tweak and compensate for that speed. Also here I am choosing light armor, light ferro instead of full ferro, simply because when you do full ferro, you get very limited critical slots. Although you could do full ferro, and there are builds that will work with this amount of slottage. There's some builds that won't, that are focusing more on energy weapons and heat sinks that will probably need light engines instead, so I'm just using them as my base. Not light engines, light ferro instead, so I'm using those as my base of my weight calculations. I think that the majority of people are going to be using the 280 or 300 engine ratings. Probably, I'd say the 280. It gets a nice middle ground between speed. We're getting over 113 kilometers an hour with that base without any speed tweak. And it is only 18 tons compared to the 20.5 of the 30, which again saves us another 2.5 tons, which is absolutely wonderful. And that's on the light engine. The difference is a little bit less. It's 1.5 tons for XL engines, but the same speeds, of course. And when we look at pod space, with a light engine, you're going to look between somewhere at the low end of 10 tons to the high end of around 12.5 tons. And for an XL engine, the low end of 14.5 to the high end of 16, maybe 16.5 tons. If you strip an arm from this mech, if you don't want to use an arm in a particular build, you get an extra half ton of weight to work with your design. So that is our thing. We're going to go from, say, 10 to 16 tons for what we have available to us. And we're going to go through each of the mechs as they are battle mechs, and we cannot change these hardpoints around, and talk about what builds you can do with which hardpoints. So to start off, we'll go through the first standard pack, then we'll go through the reinforcement, see how they compare against the standard, and then we'll go through the hero and how that compares against the rest. The VL2T has a total of 3 energy. We have 2 in the left torso, 1 in the right arm, and 3 ballistic, 1 in the left arm and 2 in the right torso. So it's kind of like it's mirrored on either side of your mech, which is, you know, somewhat symmetrical and kind of fun, but a little lacking in terms of what I would like to do with this thing for functional builds. For a lot of these mechs, they are different combinations of energy and ballistic in different amounts. So there's going to be a few builds that are very consistent that I'm going to say, and same as this one, it can do the same builds as that. But to go through a couple of these sort of archetypes that this mech can do, because we're fast, because we have jump jets, we're probably going to go into more of like a harassing skirmishing role, maybe a jump sniper role if you want to look at taking more of a heavy energy weapon like a PPC or a large laser. For this harasser striker role, we're going to go into probably things like medium pulse lasers. Medium pulse lasers, machine guns. For this particular one, the 2T, we could do 3 medium pulse, 3 machine guns, a plethora of ammo, so you could fire those machine guns as long as you want. Possibly upgrade those to heavy machine guns as well, because we're going to have the extra tonnage for it. We could take a lot of jump jets, have a lot of mobility there, and a nice big engine, so we're moving fast. And a little weak on the firepower, in my opinion. Only 3 medium pulse, only 3 machine guns. I would like to have a +1 to any of those, and that would make me feel a little bit better about it. Say 4 medium pulse and 3 machine guns, or 3 medium pulse and 4 machine guns. But it's going to be functional. It's going to be that harasser. You're not going to want to go in immediately. You're going to want the fight to come to fruition. You want the enemies to start to trade with your allies. And then once people are open, you're going to swing in and you're going to be that cleanup crew in a sense. Alternatively, because 2 of your energy here are left torso and they're in a torso, you could strip down the arms, get an extra bit of tonnage. You could take a pair of PPCs in that left torso, jump jets, double heat sinks, extra ones as you strip down the arms so you have the extra weight. A limited engine, so maybe something more along the lines of a 250. Well, if we go back to the spreadsheet warrior, the 250 barely breaks you over 100 kilometers an hour. That is enough if you know what you're doing when repositioning for a sniper type role. It's only really when you start doing sort of the dive in, dive out harassment, you need the 120 or more in order to do that and get away in a decent enough time before the enemy can track onto you. But if you know what you're doing and using the terrain properly, 100 kilometers an hour is more than enough to make a sniper role. So you could do a pair of PPCs, jump jets, run around the backfield, be a Pop-Tart sniper, jump, shoot, reposition, jump, shoot, reposition, and just repeat that for the entire match. That could work quite well as well. Moving on to the 5T, we have, again, energy and ballistics, but now different quantities. We have a total of 5 energy. We have 1 in the left torso, 3 in the right torso, and 1 in the right arm. And then 1 ballistic, 1 in the left arm. You can go more into the pulse laser roll here if you wish. You can make that more of the 5 medium pulse, extra double heat sink sort of thing. Kind of like a wolfhound, although a little bit heavier than a wolfhound. You could also add in, say, a light machine gun to that in order to get a little bit of crit seeking if you wish. Thankfully, machine guns and lasers are both hit scan weapons, so you do not need to change your firing profile. Just aim at your opponent and pull the trigger and all of your weapons will hit. Don't worry about the fact that the visual effect for the machine gun is falling behind. That is just a visual effect. Your actual machine gun damage is hitting the target. Hit scan, just point directly at them. The machine guns are lasers, essentially. But yeah, also, with additional energy hard points, you could do a traditional laser vomit. You could have, say, a large pulse laser, 5 ER mediums, some double heat sinks. Strip down the left arm as you don't need it because it's the ballistic. Alternatively, you could go with a ballistic. Now, I don't think that larger ballistic are very useful on mechs of this weight. You need to get starting into the 50 tonners for the AC-20s on the Centurions, or that's very built for that one particular weapon, or the 55s and the 60 tonners in order to start having ballistics be that strong, specifically because this is inner sphere and the particular weapons are a little bit heavier than, say, the Hunchback 2C in the clans that could easily do a pair of UAC 10s because it's clan and it has a whole bunch of weight savings. But for here, you could possibly do like 5 ER smalls and a UAC of some kind, whether it be 5 ER smalls and UAC 10, maybe that'll fit. I haven't run the numbers on that, but it probably could if you took a small enough engine, like a 250 XL. Or you could fit on, like, say, some quantity of ER mediums, say 4 of those, and an LB 10, maybe. Again, I haven't run the numbers on these because I don't think they're very useful designs. Or like a UAC 5, something along those lines. It's possible, but again, I wouldn't recommend it. Moving along to the 5M, we have a total of 4 energy. We have 1 in the left torso, 1 in the right torso, 1 in the right arm, and then 2 ballistic, both in the left arm. So it's the exact same as the one previous to it, the 5T. We have simply traded off 1 energy for 1 ballistic. 1 energy from the right torso for a ballistic in the left arm. A lot of the same builds that have been done on the 2T and the 5T can easily be done on this as well. Medium pulse lasers and machine guns. The 4E and 2B is a decent combination for it. The machine guns were just more backup, and you're just basically relying on 4 medium pulse lasers, and you have the mobility of the jump jets in order to make them more worthwhile. You could do 3 large lasers, or ER or regular versions, because we have the 3 energy in their torsos. We can drop the armor off the arms and make it that sort of ER large laser sniper if we wish. Kind of like the playstyle of the Raven 3L, but without the ECM. Or again, like the 2T or the 5T could do, a pair of PPCs in the side torsos, and jump snipe. Continuing on to the reinforcements, we have the 5S. It's the one with the ability to take mask. But to trade off that mask, it has less hardpoints than its counterparts. It is actually extremely similarly built to the 2T here. We have a ballistic in the left arm, 2 energy in the left torso. Again, this is all the same. We have an energy in the right arm, and the only difference is 1 ballistic here in the right torso, while it's 2 ballistic here in the right torso. So we're basically trading a ballistic in our right torso for the addition of mask on the mech. Again, a lot of the same things on here, same as the 2T. You can do the 2PPC design on this with mask. You could do medium pulse and machine guns if you wish, although you're starting to run out of hardpoints to really make that worthwhile. You could do the 1 larger ballistic. The stock build here does have an Ultra 5, so there is the possibility that this will get Ultra Autocannon J-Say Jam Chance or some kind of quirk, which I haven't really gotten to talking about quirks yet, and I'll mention that at the end. But there is a possibility that it'll get a quirk that makes it worthwhile, but as it stands, the other mechs can do these things as well, and it means you don't have to shell out an additional $15 to get the reinforcements. On to the 6M, we have a total of 2 energy, 1 in the left torso, 1 in the right arm, and 4 ballistic, 2 in the left arm, 2 in the right torso. Again, same thing, pulse lasers and machine guns, but this time we could say take a little bit larger of an energy weapon. We could do 2 large pulse lasers and some backup machine guns, or we could do 2 large lasers, all depending on how much weight you want to put behind that. Maybe even theoretically you could fit on a heavy PPC in one of these. Say the left torso here, put on a heavy PPC, drop the armor from the right arm in order to get a little extra tonnage, put on 4 machine guns, use the heavy PPC at range with maybe a jump jet or 2 in order to peek over a hill, and then once the enemy's opened up, you go in with 4 machine guns and rip them apart. That's a possible thing you could do with the 6M. Beyond with that, very similar to some of the other ones where you can, say, do the 2 large energy, or you could do the single large ballistic and a couple backup ER mediums if you wish. And then finally we have the Bloodlust, the hero, which is the unique one out of all of this, as it is the only one with missiles. It has 4 missiles. We have 1 in the head, which will be crit limited as there's only 1 slot available in the head. 1 in the left torso, 1 in the right torso, and 1 in the center torso. Again, crit limited as there's only 2 slots there for that missile hardpoint. Then we have 3 ballistic, 2 in the left arm, 1 in the right arm, and then 1 energy, 1 in the right arm. The energy and ballistic you could probably just use all together. Again, like I said earlier, machine guns and lasers are both hit scans, so they can very easily combine into a single weapon group. So you could do something like, say, 4 SRM4s, 4 tons of ammo, 3.5 tons of ammo for that, depending on how much you want to take and how many skill nodes you're going to get for ammo increase. Say 3 machine guns, an ER small laser, a little bit of ammo for the machine guns, and an XL280. So you could be going like 100 and something kph, have a bunch of SRMs, some jump jets, machine gun to back it up. It's pretty decent, I'd have to say. You could also do a more of a meme build and put on a mass quantity of rockets and come out of nowhere, drop somebody with rockets, and then clean them up with machine guns afterwards, although you're going to be losing a lot of your firepower into just a 1 salvo, which if you take out an assault with it, you've traded up in tonnage, so you've done your job. But you'll have to watch out for that. In the rockets design, probably something with SRMs would be more consistent. And then lastly, you could probably do a single large MRM in one of the torsos with the machine gun and single laser backup for it. So like a single, say, MRM 30 or a single MRM, maybe an MRM 40. That's starting to stretch what this mech could possibly carry. But an MRM 30, a couple tons of ammo, some machine guns, ton and a half of ammo for them, a ER small laser, a couple jump jets, an XL engine. Yeah, you can get that done. So, interesting design for the Bloodlust for the hero. In terms of the pay to win, pay to optimize, all that kind of stuff, I think the reinforcements here are pretty much skippable if you don't care for them. They're just variations of the standard pack. So if you are interested in this kind of mech and you like the builds that I described, you can basically do those with the standard pack too. Pretty much the same effectiveness as the reinforcements. Of course, this is prior to any quirk announcements, so I have no idea what they'll do to quirk these things. Like I said, for the 5S, they may do something about ultra autocannons that make it so an ultra 10 on this is really good, which could be interesting. It might be kind of fun. Ultra 10 and 3 medium lasers on that, and be like, I'm a medium and I can hear me roar sort of feeling. But as it stands, with just these numbers, don't really see a reason to get reinforcements. But for the hero, it brings in a really interesting and different playstyle for it, with the missile-based sort of brawl design to it. And it's not just like 2 missile hardpoints or something like that. It's 4 missile hardpoints. Some of them are limited in terms of their space, but you can sort of fit a certain 4 in there. So you can easily do like an assassin javelin type roll where you can do mass SRM with a little bit of backup, or even just mass SRM if you wanted to, say, take the one in the head and the one in the torso and make them 4s, and you could make the ones in the side torso 6s, go 2 4s, 2 6s, and just ammo and no backup weapons, strip the arms down for extra weight, and put it into ammo and double heatsinks and a larger engine and more jump jets. You could easily do that. So I think if you like that idea and want a hero that does it, the Bloodlust could be your choice. But then there is also other heroes that you could get that do similar things, and also other mechs you could get. You could just get a javelin, just get an assassin if you want to do a fast medium with SRMs, as that's one of the meta ones. It's pretty good. But as we head back up to take a look at its concept art, like I said before, this looks like a night gyr that lost a bunch of weight. It's emancipated, but the weapon hardpoints are pretty good. The cockpit is right here at the top of the mech, so if you want to just peek to do surveillance, very easy to do that. Considering this is a 40-ton mech, we don't know how tall this is compared to other things on scale, but it's probably not that tall, because it's only 40 tons. You probably don't have to go much further to get all of your weapons out. As we can see, they're pretty high in the torso. They're just below cockpit. The arms, if this was not drooping down and was straight forward, which they'll probably be in game, again, are quite high. They're not knuckle dragging down at the waist here. So in general, the hitboxes, or the hard points for these weapons, are fairly well positioned, and they should be okay. But when it comes to hitboxes, this will be interesting. I think this mech might be tanky, because we've always had this issue where we have a mech like this where the individual hardpoint, like hitbox locations, are just so tiny, and it's a vertical humanoid shape mech. So if you're trying to shoot this in the torso, it's very easy to miss the torso you're shooting for and hit another one, which should make armor rolling quite easy on this thing. Also, the fact that the arms probably stop around here, and then this is a side torso, and this is a center torso. So they're pretty evenly spaced, but elongated vertical hitboxes that are side by side are always, I feel, better than nice flat wide ones, because the side to side is where it gets really annoying sometimes. So that's good. The downside for this thing is it's got legs for days, which may mean that it's easy to get legged because there's a lot of space down there to shoot at, which we'll see what happens to that. But that's my only concern about the hitboxes for this mech. In summary, it is a skirmisher harasser, maybe a sniper if you want to take a little bit smaller of an engine. It's okay. It's not exciting in my opinion. There's not something like, wow, we've never seen that before sort of mentality to it, but it functions, and it's a decent little skirmisher mech if you don't already have one. But there are other options on the mech store right now, and even in game for C-bills, that do similar things that are already established with builds and videos on them and such. You don't really need to bet. So you don't have to try this one out with your hard-earned cash when you can just get some C-bills and see if you like that playstyle first. It's interesting, not that amazing, but if you like that playstyle and you want to buy it, go right ahead. It will be a functional mech. But that is going to be it for this Should You Buy. Thanks for watching, and good hunting.